What is up, everybody? What's going on? It is Dives, Mr. Crockpot on Twitter. Welcome to Party on Broad. Party on Broad can be found on iTunes and Spotify. Smash that subscribe button, guys. If you're watching at the YouTube channel of the Painted Lines, the Eagles got the 22-21 W after Carson Wentz threw a dime to Boston Scott and a Brandon Graham forced fumble. The Eagles moved to 2-4-1 on the season. Today, we are talking about final takes against the dreaded Giants. And we're going to preview the Dallas Cowboys on Sunday night. Joining me today is my man, Dylan. You know him at DylanJD98, the host of the Faithful Fanatics pod. What up, Dylan?
Feels like it's been a year since I've been on the pod, man.
Where have you been all my life?
It's only been like 1 week, but I'm back. Yeah, a win's a win, I guess. And it's going to be a fun pod.
I have that like Titanic, like, a gif of the old lady, like, it's been 84 years. Like, man, it's good to be back, man. It's good to have you back. Also joining us today, since we're playing the Cowboys on Sunday night, we got one of my friend, Austin's friend. He is Vinny Vault on Twitter. What up, Vinny?
Hey, how are y'all? I would say I'm looking forward to the game, but this is obviously not a normal contest between the Cowboys and the Eagles. So
we have my man Austin showing up, goes, I endorse none of this. So we'll see what happens.
Thumbs down, Krell.
Well, welcome to our therapy sessions, man. We've been doing this every Tuesday night where we preview the matchup for the Eagles, and a lot of ups and downs, mostly downs. But we also have Rob joining. He will be joining in a very short while. But let's talk about final takes. Let's lead off with Carson Wentz. Got to start out with Carson Wentz and that 71-yard touchdown drive to give the Eagles that lead with just 40 seconds to play. That throw to Boston Scott for that touchdown was vintage Carson Wentz. It was a throw that took me immediately back to that end zone toss he had to Corey Clement in the 2017 Super Bowl. It was a straight-up roller coaster performance, but when it counted, Wentz was 5 for 6 for 121 yards and 2 touchdowns on the final 2 drives. Perfect passer rating. Overall, he was 25 of 43, 359 yards, 2 touchdowns, an interception, and a touchdown on the ground. He got hit 10 times, sacked 3 times. Offensive line-wise, Carson Wentz is still the most sacked quarterback, most hit quarterback in the NFL. So we've been doing these preview pods, every week. And the stat that I've been putting my attention closely to is the second half offense. The Eagles were nearly dead last in second half points per game the first several weeks of the season. But when you look at the last 3 games, you see real signs of improvement for the offense. 15 points in the second half versus the Steelers, 28 points in the second half versus the Baltimore Ravens. They only had 12 points versus the Giants, but if you put all those together, 18.3 points per game per half for the second half, which would be number 1 in the NFL. So their last 3 games now have gotten the Eagles 14th best in the NFL in second half production. Just a stat to keep in mind as we move forward. Dylan, what's a final take of yours versus the New York Giants?
Well, if we're talking about Carson Wentz, it's that, look, everyone's just going to have to realize you're going to have to live with some of the questionable plays. Like, you're going to have to live with the interception when he overthrew John Hightower was a bad play. Okay, it's quarterback 101 to not run across the field and throw across the to the other side of the field across your body. Bad play. But other than that, he was outstanding. But what was he? He was 25 of 43, 359 yards, 3 total touchdowns, 2 scoring drives in the last 6 minutes when they were down and out 21-10. The biggest thing to me is, look, the question before was, especially with all these injuries, is can Carson Wentz make people around him better, right? I heard that a ton. Well, guys, he almost brought back the practice squad team week 5 against the Steelers, close but no cigar. He almost comes back against the Baltimore Ravens, close but no cigar. And then he finally pulls one off, down 11 with 6 minutes left. Again, yes, a bad Giants team, but I don't care. A win is a win. Carson Wentz was great. The throw to Boston Scott does not get any better than that. I saw a tweet from someone that was like, Carson was great in the last 2 possessions, but I thought he was bad for 80% of this game. Dude, he was 10 of 12 in the second quarter for 130 yards and a touchdown with over a 102 QBR. What do you mean he was bad for 80% of the game? Doug Peterson, we'll get into that in a second, but my thoughts on Carson Wentz is that each week he's steadily getting better and he's getting more confidence in these young guys around him, especially Travis Fulgham. And I look, it must really suck to not like Carson Wentz.
All right. Also joining us today is the co-host of the Party on Broad. That is Rob. You know him on Twitter at Philly_Madness. What up, Rob?
I will be wearing something that represents Carson Wentz every single week now for the amazing amounts of jackasses that are still out there that just don't want to give this guy the credit he deserves. So this is for every one of you. The fact of the matter is, what he did on Thursday, was save Doug Peterson's ass.
Yeah, totally.
He played hero ball, and it's so funny because there's been a lot of quarterbacks like Carson Wentz who have been loved and idolized for doing what he's been able to do. But when it's Carson Wentz, it's, he only plays 1 or 2 good series. And I understand, I'm not saying he's these other guys, but he mirrors his game after these gunslinger quarterbacks who people were think were some of the greatest quarterbacks to ever play, right? He tries, and Dylan, as I popped on, you were saying it, that means you're going to have a mistake here and again. But when the game is over at 21-10, and he could put him on his back like he did, and throw a dime like he did to Boston Scott, a 5'6" running back, it's got to stop. It does. It has to stop. This kid is the real deal. And I'm telling you, I've been saying it. How many weeks have I been saying it? Doug Peterson has been holding him back, and I don't know if it's on purpose or not, but he's been holding his ass back because Carson can play.
All right. Before we get into that, my man Vinny Volts, what was your final take of that loss versus the Washington football team, man?
Well, without Dak Prescott, our season's pretty much lost. We're kind of tanking for Trevor Lawrence to trade that pick away to sign Dak, hopefully to a long-term deal for all of the money in the world. But the defense is absolutely terrible, and you're about to see a fire sale. We saw Griffin was traded for basically free to get him off the books, 6th-round pick today. But Jalen Smith, we paid that guy all the money. He might be the top paid linebacker in the league. That guy runs in quicksand. He is so bad. He might be the worst linebacker in the league. He's terrible. We need to get. I don't think we could trade him for a vending machine though. So I don't really know the situation if we can cut him. But I mean, he is so bad. I would only keep Van Der Esch, DeMarcus Lawrence barely, and Diggs. And that hit on Andy Dalton was so bad. And that guy should be suspended for the season. Since the season. But I can't wait to see little old Danucci in there on Sunday night throw for 55 yards. I mean, it's going to be awesome. It is going to be so sick. And then Zeke probably fumbled twice and all that. It's going to be lovely Sunday night.
All I know is the Philadelphia Eagles have a history of a quarterback that no one has ever heard of. Yep. Kicking their ass on national TV. I go back to one of the only Tuesday night games in the history of the NFL against the Minnesota Vikings.
Yes. Who was that?
When Joe Webb.
Joe Webb. He's a legend.
Beat the living hell out of the Eagles in a major, major game to playoff implication type of game. So I don't care if it's Danucci. I don't care who the hell it is. Mm-hmm. I'm more nervous about Danucci than I would have been about Dalton, just from a historical standpoint in Philadelphia.
All right, let's go into the comments. Brian, the Joe Show, is joining. Ertz and Alshon mentioned in trade rumors before the Ertz injury. Now Ertz can't be traded due to injury, obviously. Who do we get before the trade deadline? Also, Cowboys trade Everson Griffin. You just touched on that, Vinny Volts. Who are we talking? Obviously, offensive line's got to be a priority. What about you, Rob? Any trade deadline target positions of need? What's your thoughts?
I'm going to continue to pound the table for linebacker until it actually happens. And I'm not saying that you're going to get a guy that's going to come in here and be a star, but you don't need that right now. What you need is a guy that could come in here and just play and take snaps away from. I understand Vinny thinks Jalen Smith's the worst linebacker in the league. He may be second worst because there's not a worse linebacker in the history of the game of football than Nate Gary, who doesn't belong on a peewee field coaching little kids because he would coach them how to suck really, really bad.
Quick note, Vinny Volts, I did a poll. I made a bracket of the athletes that Philly sports fans hate the most. And I had Tony Romo in the Eagles bracket. I had Tony Romo going up against Nate Gary, and Tony Romo just barely won. That's how much people hate Nate Gary. Let's roll with the comments. Joe says Eagles win 31-7.
Up that number up.
Whoa, why were you banned from Kelly's and Bryn Mawr?
I couldn't tell you, Austin Crowell. I could not tell you.
I predict the Cowboys will draft a quarterback and release Dak, and Dak goes to the Patriots after the season. Any thoughts on that? No?
Well, actually, wait, because the Joneses are really dumb. So they'll probably franchise Dak and like somehow mess up a contract after that to where he leaves. So maybe not next year though, for sure, because we can franchise him again.
All right. Let's roll on. Doug Peterson. Let's go into Doug Peterson, then we'll get to the Cowboys matchup. Missed opportunities from Doug Peterson was my second main take of this game. Doug got so lucky. You touched on it, Rob. That Evan Ingram drop on 3rd and 7 down the sideline with the Giants up 21-16, 2 minutes left, saved Doug Peterson's neck so much. If Ingram catches that ball, the entire conversation tonight would have been about Doug Peterson. But this guy's play calling continues to be the major problem of the Philadelphia Eagles. His play calling with 2 minutes left to go until halftime. We talked all week about inserting Jalen Hurts more. That's the only time the Eagles offense actually moves the ball. The guy was just non-existent. Running a fade route on 4th and goal to that guy. I don't even know who that guy is.
I'll tell you who he is. Hakeem Butler was a hell of a player in college. He has 0 catches in the NFL, and on a pivotal 4th down play, your call was run a fade back shoulder throw to a guy who's never made a catch in this league. That was Doug Peterson's call.
So this is Doug Peterson, Vinny Volts. This is when we talk about the first drive of the game, we see Doug go up tempo, and the Eagles offense goes bang, bang, bang. Looked fantastic after the game opening touchdown, and then Doug Peterson just abandons it. This is what he does, game in and game out. This is the pattern that we've seen over and over and over again. I'm just starting to think that, Doug's not an idiot. He might be an idiot. He just simply has no idea how to put his guys on his roster, in his offense, and put them in best positions to succeed. No different than Jim Schwartz. One of my biggest takes of the game was Doug's terrible play calling. I'm not calling for Doug Peterson to be fired, but he can't be doing the play call anymore. That just has to stop. And I had a friend right after the game tell me I'm being too hard on Doug Peterson. Doug Peterson's not the problem. What about am I crazy, Dylan? What am I taking crazy pills?
No. And I hate to bitch and moan after a win, one of the only 2 wins of the season. But look, Doug Peterson was on his way to calling his worst game as an Eagles head coach in his tenure if Carson Wentz doesn't bail him out. And I'm not kidding around. You touched on the Hakeem Butler fade on 4th down. That was one of the most mind-boggling play calls I've ever seen. I'm so tired of watching 3rd and 1, 3rd and 2, 5-foot Boston Scott running between the tackles. Man, what was his reasoning for using Corey Clement a couple weeks ago? Mind you, Corey Clement had a big back himself, but he used Corey Clement late in the game on the 3rd and short because Corey Clement was the bigger back. But Dodge, the 2-point conversions. This is the 3rd. He ran 3 2-point conversions in the last 2 games that were read options. He said after the Baltimore game, when he was questioned about the last 2-point conversion to try to tie the game up, and he said they were out. He was out of play calls, play designs.
Have we seen,
so the first one, the next week, he runs a read option.
Have we
It
seen
doesn't
Jalen
work.
Hurts in the red zone at all this year?
You have an offensive line that can't get any push. And he just continues to do the same thing over and over again. A quarterback sneak. Look, no one can stop 6'5" Carson Wentz when the line gets a push inside a yard or a half yard for a quarterback sneak. This is the second week in a row he's tried it outside of 1 yard. It says 4th and 1. It's more like 4th and 3.75 of a yard, 4th and 2. And he's trying it with the 7th makeshift offensive line he's put together that can't get any push. It was awful.
Have we seen Jalen Hurts in the red zone at all this year?
No, yeah, you saw Jalen Hurts. Oh, that's the last thing. I'm so glad you said that. You saw Jalen Hurts on the last 2-point conversion after Carson gave you the lead. After Carson throws his way down the field 2 possessions in a row, what's Doug do to try to go up by 3? He takes the ball out of Carson's hands.
Wow.
And Hurts throw a pass.
I went absolutely bonkers on that. And I actually had a phone call. My cousin called me and said, I hate to say it, but I might be coming around to your theory. Because you got to explain to me how in that moment when Carson Wentz has done everything he just did, now you say, let's take Jalen Hurts and put him in, and let's have Jalen Hurts throw a ball on this. It's preposterous. All right. And Dylan, I know that it was a win, but there's plenty to bitch about in this game. They had no business winning this game. They had no business winning this game the way they played and were coached to play from many, many, many different standpoints in this game. Okay, so we can bitch and complain about this team. Look, people are dogging the NFC East, and you can't say anything. It's an awful division. I mean, every team in there is just not good. Now, Dallas, Philadelphia, yeah, they have been beaten and battered by injury. You can't argue that. I understand that. But even before the injuries started popping up, did either one really play good football?
No.
I mean, think about it. Nobody played good football. And the Eagles haven't played good football all year. They had a nice game out in San Francisco, but I wouldn't say that was just a clean game. I mean, honestly, two of the Eagles' best game of the year from an offensive perspective was against Pittsburgh in a loss.
Yeah.
So it's one of these things where we can bitch and complain, and people have to hold Doug accountable right now. I am sick and tired of the Doug apologist, but the Wentz hater. Like, no, you don't understand. You don't understand. Wentz is doing what's on offense. He's doing what Doug's offense is predicated on. Why is Doug not letting Carson be Carson more? Look what happened. Dive, you said it. First drive. We're no huddle, right? Hurry up. Moving. Bing, bang, boom. And then they never went back to it. Why?
It's not this. That's happened multiple times this season.
Yeah, it makes no sense. It makes no sense. And it's so frustrating to see that. And look, I know the defense played better, but I'm over. Jim Schwartz pisses me off to no end, man. I can't watch crap out there. It makes no sense. Why Nate Gary is still on this field? He does nothing good. Nothing.
He had a sack. When I saw him get that sack, I thought of you, Rob, immediately.
Yeah, and you know what I said? Because he jumped up. I had quite a few alcoholic beverages that day. And as soon as he jumped up and he started to dance, I may or may not have had a few choice words thrown at the screen. Back in the huddle because it's the first play he's ever made in his life.
All right. Any final thoughts, Vinny Volts, on last week, man?
Well, I want to jump in because with the Gary, Jalen Smith leads the league in tackles. And it's like a running joke that he's gonna post on his Instagram story asking for Pro Bowl votes because he leads the league in tackles. And he might be the most minus EV linebacker in the world. And he does this little dance. It's the same thing. And then you guys are talking about Doug Peterson holding Carson Wentz back. It sounds like Dak Prescott's 5 years in the league. It's what we all complain about over here, not letting Dak cook because he's a top 3 quarterback in the league. It's just stupid, boneheaded. Oh, let's give it to Zeke on first down. First down runs do not work. And it's just, it sounds like we're complaining about the same stuff, just arch enemies.
Yeah.
So we have Wentztricity joining. Thanks for joining, man. He says, is Fulgham a starter when all the wide receivers are healthy? Absolutely, 100% yes.
Yeah.
Jalen Reagor, Travis Fulgham, Greg Ward, John Hightower. I'm good with those 4 this year. I have no issues. D-Jax is gone, right? Like there's no coming back for that guy.
You know what the shame of this injury was? This injury was on a pure cheap shot, and it wasn't just like an injury-prone injury. Like, he's laying on the ground, his legs are bent, and the guy comes and just levels him. I mean, that was one of those just really unfortunate things for him. And he was back there on a punt. He was a veteran who asked to be back there on a punt, and I could commend that. You know, I could commend the guy for doing that. I felt bad for him on this one. I did.
All right. Brian says, tying against the Bengals may have been a smart move, considering every team in the NFC East will probably lose 10 games. All right.
Coward tax. Coward tax.
All right. Let's talk about the Dallas Cowboys versus the Philadelphia Eagles on Sunday night. I think the first storyline has to begin with the bona fide dumpster fire, which is the Cowboys defense. I'm looking at the Eagles run game versus the Dallas front seven. The Washington came into last week averaging 82 yards per game on the ground, the fewest in the NFL, and just completely ran over the Dallas Cowboys. Antonio Gibson, 128 yards on 20 carries, 208 total yards for Washington. This is an area that Doug Peterson must attack, and all signs point to a big game coming from Boston Scott on Sunday night. The Eagles' rushing attack has been straight up mediocre this season, near last in rush attempts per game and 15th in yards per game. But the craziest thing, Vinny Volts, is that the Eagles are 7th in the NFL in yards per rush attempt. So that just shows you, like, that when they do run it and when they commit to it, it works. But you just see Doug go away from it all the time. He's been doing it the last 2 years. So that's just straight up Dougie P. The Eagles need to start committing to the run. We all know Carson Wentz is at his best behind a strong rushing attack. The Cowboys defense is dead last in the NFL, allowing 178 yards rushing per game through 7 weeks. If the Eagles want to beat the Cowboys Sunday night, Doug must commit to the running game. That's my top storyline. What about you, Rob? What's a top storyline matchup for Sunday?
You know, my top storyline here is the Eagles have to be a team that is playing like their entire season depends on it. I mean, every single week they have to play that way, and not just for 2 quarters, for 4 quarters. You know, and look, I know the stats, but you saw it with the Giants. When you get these teams in the NFC East together, even when they're bad, all the stats go out the window. You know what's going to happen in this game. You know it's going to be back and forth for a little while. You have to hope, as an Eagles fan, you have to hope that all of these injuries are just too much for Dallas to overcome. This defense, you know, I expected the defense to be slightly improved from last year. I didn't expect them to be good, but I expected them to be slightly improved. What we have seen is unreal. And Dives, I appreciate you being the one to take the shot at me this week for my pull my ass out. Yes, I picked Dallas to win the Super Bowl preseason. I did. Okay, I bought in. I bought into it. All right, I went against every fiber of my being, and I did it. And I have taken a rash of crap for it since, and I should. I'm sorry. Okay.
I needed a W after Justin Jefferson has been killing it these last several weeks.
So, you know, my thing is the Eagles have got to have a sense of urgency from the jump. I'm tired of falling behind and having to see them claw their way back. This is a game where if they score on the first drive like they did last week, great. But guess what? On the second drive, go do it again. Go do it again. A team like Dallas, you heard what Vinny said, right? They're starting to sell guys off now. They're kind of looking at this like, all right, this is a lost season. So a group like that, you put them in a hole early and you keep them in the hole. And then you won't have to worry about anything. That's what the Eagles need to do. I don't know if they will because I haven't seen that from them. But my big storyline is, and this is what I always say to my teams, get your foot on their throat and crush the windpipe early. Don't let them breathe again.
They're cursed. The Eagles are straight up cursed. Whenever something good happens on one side of the ball, like they just fuck it up on the other end. Remember the Jalen Mills interception last Thursday night? What happened right after that? Carson Wentz threw into like triple coverage in the end zone. It was picked off. Like they're just inept when it comes to like keeping momentum. What about you, Dylan?
Well, I'm with Rob, and the Eagles need to get out early and get out quick and play a full 60-minute game. That's something we haven't seen through 7 weeks. So that's something I want to look for against the beaten up bad Dallas team. But if I'm talking matchup, it has to be, look, I like our defensive line. I really do. And I know that they can dominate sometimes. But look, if they do not dominate on Sunday night against this beat up reserve team that the Dallas Cowboys are putting out on their offensive line and get after the James Madison University quarterback, DiNucci, I don't want to hear another word about how good Fletcher Cox is. Brandon Graham's playing at an elite level. I don't want to hear any. If they cannot get after it in this type of game in prime time at home, Sunday Night Football, against an awful offensive line and a third-string quarterback who's making his second NFL appearance, I got nothing for you.
Yep. Quick nod, though, to Brandon Graham, man. The guy is playing probably the best football of his career at 32 years old. 11th NFL season, 6 sacks in 7 games, 3.5 shy of his career high. The Cowboys are bottom third in the league in yards per game, yards per rush attempt, and sacks allowed. They're also among the worst in the NFL in penalties per game and have the worst turnover margin per game in the NFL. So, like you said, Dylan, that was my number 2 storyline. What about you, Vinny Volts?
Well, my storyline is going to be the feed Zeke. I know Eagles Twitter, they love Zeke Elliott for some unknown reason. Like, your game plan needs to be just going through Zeke. Rob mentioned going out early and stepping on the throats. You will if we do feed Zeke. Feeding Zeke involves him fumbling, him trying to catch the ball with alligator hands. He is absolutely terrible. His EPA 2 weeks ago against Arizona was -15. Terrible. But I guess we have to let DiNucci cook. I mean, this is going to be. I mean, if we're going to be feeding Zeke, and it's going to be so bad, and you guys should be blitzing every single play. You guys should be bringing everybody, every single.
You know Jim Schwartz. You don't blitz from him.
Yeah, well, he needs to adopt the blitz this week and this week only because you should be able to get 8 sacks. I don't know. And I guess another thing quickly, I guess that the only chance the Cowboys really have is hopefully Carson Wentz keeps playing like Carson Wentz. He's bottom 5 in accuracy. His EPA is pretty bad. I think maybe bottom 8 in the league. You just gotta hope he makes mistakes that he's been doing, and hopefully the turnover. You said the Cowboys last in turnovers. Hopefully we get some turnover regression. Carson Wentz makes some bad decisions. Maybe we can lose by 15 instead of 30.
He's been holding on to the ball a lot this year. Definitely making some questionable calls with the ball for sure. There's no denying that at all. Rob, any other final takes? Any storylines here, man?
Yeah, you listen. I understand that it might be a DiNucci and that might play into it, but let's not act like this. The firepower on the outside for Dallas is still the firepower on the outside. The CeeDee Lambs. I know that maybe a Michael Gallup hasn't played to where they had expected Michael Gallup to play, but you got to be careful. I agree. You got to send. Now, the whole thing, it goes to Dylan's point. If the defensive line gets home and they're not letting whoever's back there have time, then that doesn't matter, right? That totally the best secondary is a good defensive front getting pressure on the quarterback. So you need that. But I will say, let's not, the Eagles defense has to be aware of where especially the young CeeDee Lamb is, because this kid's starting to make a name for himself pretty quickly.
That's my other matchup to watch. Is Jalen Reagor should be back Sunday night. I'm hearing that he's going to be back. So CeeDee Lamb versus Jalen Reagor is going to be really fun. You guys tore our hearts out. We did Vinny Volts, we did a reaction pod, and we really gave high reviews, high grades to the Dallas Cowboys. That was a brutal draft. We had someone on, I forget, John Williams from really great guy that writes on the Dallas Cowboys, join our pod, and he was ripping us for that CeeDee Lamb selection. What about you, Dylan? Any matchups for you, dude?
Well, I guess if we're just sticking with that, it's going to be Darius Slay versus Amari Cooper. I know it's not Dak trying to get the ball to Amari Cooper, but Slay shadows Amari Cooper every time they play in his time in Detroit. And Amari Cooper, I don't know if any loves him, how he feels about him. Amari Cooper tends to disappear in big time games. So look, Is it going to mean the same without Dak back there? No. But I guess if we're just talking any other matchups, yeah.
Any final matchup storylines before we go into game predictions? Anybody?
Amari Cooper is really good. Michael Gallup can be really good, but like he had a couple nice plays, but like without Dak, I think as you guys alluded to, like he can't do anything, and no one can do anything. But yeah,
I think there's one other major one we're missing. Mike Nolan versus Tabasco sauce has to be thrown in there right now. I don't know if you guys have missed the story this week. Chris, you look confused by what I'm saying.
I have no idea what's going
You don't
on.
know?
No.
Mike Nolan giving his weekly press conference in the middle of it, rubbed his eye after having a lunch with Tabasco sauce and literally had to leave the press conference to go take care of it and then come back and finish. So if I'm Dallas, there should be no hot sauce allowed on the flight to Philadelphia or in the locker room pregame, because when it rains, it pours, ladies and gentlemen. And right now in Dallas, even hot sauce is winning against the Dallas defense. So we got to be careful of that one as well.
Well, what was it? Sesame sauce? Sesame something for Zaire Smith? Remember that? Like
that he was allergic to?
Yeah, it took him out.
Total.
There it is. There's maybe a little dynamic there with sauces versus the Cowboys and Eagles. Let's go on to game predictions. All signs point to the Eagles dominating here, but I don't buy it, guys. I absolutely do not buy it. The Eagles' inconsistencies on both ends of the field, their lack of chemistry, their mediocre defense, the horrific play calling will most likely, I think, keep this game close. You look at it, like on paper, the Eagles match up really well on this one, but Vinny Volz, like common sense, logic do not apply to Doug Peterson and Jim Schwartz. The Eagles are by far the most hot and cold team in the NFL. When they're clicking, it looks good, but when they're bad, man, they are as bad as it gets, but I can't ignore the trends in this one. That Dallas has managed 19 points on the last 24 drives after Dak went down. On the other end, the Eagles have logged 50 points on their last 24 drives. So there is some positivity moving for the Eagles there. I'm going Eagles 35, Dallas 27. I think Boston Scott's going to be the difference in this one. I'm expecting 2 or 3 big plays, 30 yards or more from Boston Scott. And we'll get a couple of interceptions. Let's start off with Vinny Volz. Where do you see this one going, man?
So I think the line, like the opening line, because I'm kind of a gambling guy. The opening line was like 7.5, assuming Andy Dalton was going to be in. And I would have hammered the Eagles. Like this line should be like 10. It definitely should be double digits, especially with Danucci going out there and our defense just is so bad. I see you guys winning in a landslide. Maybe we can score a double-digit point this week. Like that'd be cool. All I see on Eagles Twitter. Oh, Dak's just an average QB. Oh, he does it in garbage time with all his superior weapons. Like Dak's really good, and like this is just affirming like everything we all thought. And like without Dak, we're hopeless. So like I'm seeing like 35-10. Like. Okay. Maybe even 42-10. Like it's gonna be terrible. But
all right, what about you, Dylan? Yeah.
So look, the Dallas Cowboys, after Andy Dalton took that, ridiculous, unnecessary hit, the Cowboys didn't help him up. The Cowboys didn't come to his rescue. Nothing. This team is down and out. They've given up on Mike McCarthy. Nolan is an absolute joke. They're a dumpster fire mess in Dallas right now. We thought it was bad here in Philadelphia 2 weeks ago. It's way worse down there. This team's out of it. Get on them quick. Get on them early, as Rob was saying, and put them out of their misery. I'm going to say Eagles 31, Dallas 16 or 17. I think Dak is a good quarterback in this league. Don't get me wrong. He's not top 3. Hate to break that to you.
Top 5 conservatively.
He's already moving the chains.
like as a biased fan, top 3, yeah. But like I think as like a normal fan, like top 5 for sure.
I'm just gonna say 9 points with the division on the line, but
But like that doesn't matter. His EPA.
What do you mean it doesn't matter?
Well, I mean, it matters. I mean, I was at the game actually too. I was me and my dad when he's a lifetime Cowboy fan. We were getting rocked as we exited the stadium. But like his EPA is just off the charts. He is so much better than like Carson Wentz. He's so much better than any one of these like average QBs that you guys say Dak is. Like he's better than Drew Brees. He's better than Lamar Jackson. Who else is like a really good quarterback? He's better than them. Like Wilson, Mahomes, and like
Rodgers.
No. Wilson. No, Rodgers is not better. Dak has been better than Rodgers the past 3 years.
Yo, can we wrap up the show? Can we wrap up this show? Rob.
Yeah. Give any of these quarterbacks your name in the offensive line he had for the first couple of years in this league, and they're putting up the same numbers that he's putting up. That's the only thing. I think Dak's very good. I actually am one of the rare people in Philly who actually think Dak is a really good quarterback.
I said he's good.
I can't wait till Jerry Jones screws us up because he's the biggest asshole in sports, and Dak walks and goes and wins a Super Bowl somewhere else, and I can get the finger back to Jerry Jones. That's what I'm really hoping for because I want to root for Dak, but as long as that stupid-ass star is on his helmet, I will never root for Dak. It's just the way it's the way of the world. Just like you think our eagle wing is stupid, I think the star is stupid, and I will never root for the star.
Like, well, the offensive line's kind of a misnomer or like a misconception because I think last year Dak Prescott had 0.4 seconds more time in the pocket than Carson Wentz did. So like they've been like kind of average. Like they own their best O line like because of like Tony Romo and DeMarco Murray. Was that 2016 or whatever? And they're automatically the best line every year. That's not necessarily that true.
We don't like the name DeMarco Murray in this town either.
No, we don't talk about that.
He can go away.
All right, let's do plugs and wrap it up.
Can I make my prediction?
Yeah.
My bad. Go ahead, Rob.
Damn, man. All right, so it's funny how people that don't follow the Eagles on a daily basis think, the Eagles are just going to rout, right? That's going to be the national storyline. I have watched for almost my entire life this team when they face a quarterback that has never played, when they face a team that is a dumpster fire that is done with the season. I've watched the Eagles struggle in this game my entire life. And that's when they are actually a legitimate football team, not what they've been this year. So I couldn't in my right mind sit here right now and say the Eagles are going to roll. Now, the kind of game I see is one of those you're frustrated early, but they have the lead. They're kind of hanging to that 7-10 point lead. And then in the fourth quarter, they get maybe a touchdown and a big turnover that leads to another score. And now the game looks like it was a blowout. I'm going to go with like 37-20.
Yeah.
But I don't think it's going to be this big rout. I think that's going to be a late, Dallas is down 10 and and this kid's going to try and force one in down late. And, the Eagles will get one of their, 2 turnovers that they get all friggin' year because Jim Schwartz sucks. So I'm going to go 37-20. I do think the Eagles win the game, but I'm not sitting here today like, all right, we're 3-4-1. Let's see how it goes. I'm sitting here today going, do not embarrass our asses on national TV. I don't care about your ass. Don't embarrass your fans on national TV this week. Do what you need to do and whoop Cowboy ass, whether there's injuries or not. There's nothing more beautiful in this town than a Monday morning after an Eagles victory over Dallas.
All right, let's wrap it up. Dylan, anything you want to plug?
Faithful Fanatics podcast tomorrow at 5:30. That's all I got right now.
What about you, Rob?
Well, actually, so me and Jess are coming live on Thursday. We've been off a week here, but very excited to announce this right now. As long as the schedules work out, which it should. Maybe the most famous Eagles fan right now is little young Giovanni Hamilton, right? Giovanni is our guy. He is the voice of the fan. He's all over the nation now because of his Dak Prescott video and all of that kind of stuff. Well, Jess actually recorded on Giovanni's podcast today. And after the podcast, talked to Giovanni and his mom. Giovanni Hamilton is joining the madness on Thursday to really give you a taste of how a true Eagles fan is looking at Dallas week. So make sure you tune in on Thursday night to see Giovanni with Jess and I on the madness.
Awesome. Vinny Volts, anything you want to last final thoughts or plug? You name it.
Well, I guess my Twitter is at Vinny Volts, and I post soccer bets all the time and Cowboys takes. And I want to plug to all Eagles fans out there to please use EPA as a metric, please. Yeah, that's kind of it. And plugging Dak Prescott as a top 5 quarterback in the league.
All right. Before you go, give us one funny story about Austin Crow.
Yes.
Well, there's just so many. I really have to go through and think. Well, I actually was with him 2 weeks ago. Oh, wait. I got to go with the funniest story. I'm sure you guys have heard this one. I mean, this is an instant crowd classic. So I think he was in high school or whatever, and his parents were gone for the weekend or whatever, and he was driving the new car, and he went to a Rita's ice cream near Villanova, or Rita's water ice, as you guys say. And he was, I guess, getting some water ice. And he parked backwards first, you know how you do a little park backwards. Yeah. Anyways, so I think he thought he parked forwards, and he put the car in reverse, and I guess slammed on that gas pedal and crashed right through a Rita's water ice.
Well done, Austin.
I mean, it is a crawl classic. Unbelievable scenes at that Rita's. It was right by Nova. I've been there a couple times. Lovely establishment because Krell paid for the Krell paid for the remodeled store. So yeah, that's a good. I mean, I didn't know if you guys knew that, but that's probably his top story.
That's awesome. All right, plugs. Tons of NBA draft content here at the Painted Lines YouTube channel. We've been really pushing it. Check out my man Tiago's comprehensive Sixers draft guide over at thepaintedlines.com. Tons of work went into that. Lots of blood and sweat. Tons of highlight scouting videos here at the YouTube channel. It is Mandalorian week, so I'll be pumping out weekly reviews of The Mandalorian, written and podcasts. We have the action movie draft coming out. My man Rob's going to be joining. Probably do the lottery for that in a little bit. Rob, if you had the number one pick, what would you take as the top action movie of all time?
Jeez, I haven't done my research yet, but I'll
give away your pick.
I'm not going to get no. I know what Dives is doing because he's cheated me twice now. I've had in the comedy movie draft. I will never forgive him. The pick that I put out should never have lost to anyone in any movie draft in history, and I didn't make it out of the second round because of nonsensical things. But I will just say this, Dives. Last night, and I'm going to pick up part 2 tonight. I finally watched the original John Wick last night. I'm going to watch John Wick 2 tonight, and I'm going to watch John Wick 3 tomorrow night. I decided I want to just do them all together. And I'll say, the beginning of the movie I'm watching, and I'm like, all right, this is going to get somewhere, right? And all of a sudden I was like, holy shit, this is awesome. And it's exactly what you said. It is just a guy's movie. It's just a legitimate guy's action flick. Makes zero sense, but you don't give a damn because it's so badass.
Yeah, we just did a pod of John Wick versus The Matrix and graded the films, mano y mano. Go check that out, Rob. John Wick got a lot of praise, and it gets better and better and better. Chapter 2 and Chapter 3 are fantastic. I think they're better.
I'm just excited for Boban. I cannot wait to see Boban in Chapter 3. So I can.
Dude, it's fantastic. It is.
Go Mavs.
All right, let's wrap this up. Make sure you subscribe to the Painted Lines YouTube channel. You can find Party on Broad on iTunes, on Spotify. Check out all of our Eagles content, NBA draft content, whatever you want at thepaintedlines.com. For Vinny Volts, for Rob, for Dylan, for myself, thanks for watching, guys. Catch you next time.